2018's Black Panther has cemented itself as one of the best comic book movies of all time, and it's been rewarded with a worldwide gross of almost $1.5 billion. A hell of a lot of work and time went into making the Marvel Studios offering, and we're gonna take a look at just some of what went on behind the scenes. These behind-the-scenes secrets will change how you watch Black Panther. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's the best way of keeping up to date with all of Screen Rant's great new videos.
This is what they do to people like us.
I ain't worried about no brain. Check these out.
Killmonger's scars. Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger, who also went by the names Eric Stevens and Angelica, was one of the very best things about the Black Panther movie. Until Josh Brolin's Mad Titan Thanos came along in Avengers Infinity War a few months later, he was undoubtedly the best villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since Tom Hiddleston's Loki. The character had one scar for every person he'd ever killed, which resulted in around 3,000 prosthetic dots covering his body. A concept that borrowed inspiration from Africa's real-life Mercy tribe, who live in the isolated Omo Valley in southern Ethiopia near the border of Sudan. The look was created by Morphology Effects founder Joel Harlow, whose resume includes movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, Star Trek Beyond, and Logan, and was made by putting a glue-like material in molds. It was a very challenging task, especially given that Jordan's character was involved in a number of close contact scenes that could have damaged the prosthetics. And given the fact that one of his major scenes at Warrior Falls involved a lot of water, which is the natural enemy of any type of makeup, the dots took several hours to apply every day, and Jordan deserves a medal for patiently sitting through it. The rhinos. Believe it or not, there weren't actually any real rhinos used in these climactic battle scenes in Black Panther. We know, hard to believe, right? They were, however, one of the most challenging CGI aspects of a movie that was filled with computer-generated imagery from start to finish. The main issue was the specific locomotion that the visual effects team needed to get right. There was only so much footage of rhinos banking and running around corners to be found online, so they built up a library of basic gaits, such as walking and running. From there, they were able to fine-tune the performance to either speed up or slow down the action as required in any given scene. The war rhinos actually came in extremely handy for any action-packed scenes in which camera movement was difficult. Some of the CGI creatures were used to effectively wipe the camera clean, so that when a rhino completely covered the screen, the next frame could seamlessly begin from a point that would have been difficult to move the camera to in a more organic fashion.
Past willing, this will go quickly and I can get this ridiculous thing off my head.
It looks nice. Just whip it back and forth, eh?
What?
Nakia's green dress. Remember that awesome scene when T'Challa, Okoye, and Nakia traveled to Busan in South Korea, where Andy Serkis's Ulysses Klaue planned to sell the vibranium Wakandan artifact to Martin Freeman's CIA agent Everett K. Ross? And remember the dresses the Wakandan ladies were wearing in said scene? Well, you might be surprised to learn that there was more to Nakia's green dress than meets the eye. Ryan Coogler broke down the scene for a video feature for Vanity Fair, and it's a video packed with great details. However, one particular part jumped out more than the others. After a fairly lengthy discussion about the colors that were used in the scene, those being T'Challa's black suit, Okoye's red uniform, and the aforementioned Nakia's green dress, which represent the colors of the Pan-African flag, Coogler let it slip that Lupita Nyong'o's dress wasn't actually made from cloth or any type of material typically associated with clothing. The dress was actually custom printed using a 3D printer in order to perfectly fit her body. Those things really can print anything these days. Kendrick Lamar's soundtrack. Yep, that's right, it's 2018, and we now live in a world where the Walt Disney Company commissioned a Kendrick Lamar album for the Black Panther movie in the mold of Drake's commercial mixtape, More Life. Although it should be said it wasn't always the intention for Lamar and his label Top Dog Entertainment to do the whole thing. Initially, director Ryan Coogler approached Lamar and Top Dog CEO Anthony Tiffith to make just a small number of songs for the soundtrack. But when Coogler showed Lamar some of the movie, the rapper and songwriter was so impressed that he just decided to do the whole thing right there and then. Lamar, Tiffith, and their label's in-house producer Mike Spears, aka Soundwave, worked on ideas for hooks and production during Lamar's cross-country tour for his critically acclaimed album, Damn. The brilliant end product featured artists from across the world, including Vince Staples, Schoolboy Q, and others from the United States, James Blake and Georgia Smith from the United Kingdom, and even Yungin Blackrock, Babes Wodomo, and Saudi from South Africa. It's a truly diverse soundtrack that complements the movie beautifully, and it wouldn't have happened if Kendrick Lamar didn't think the movie was fantastic.
What is this? Just a little gift.
Wakanda. As a fictional country, Wakanda obviously doesn't really exist, but the actual set for the African nation didn't really exist as such either. It was almost entirely CGI. When it came to creating Wakanda, it required a huge variety of digital environments, from high-tech areas like the landing pad in the city to the more humble market environment of Step Town, as well as locations like the Tribal Council Chamber, the Hall of Kings, the Borderlands, and all the canyon environments for the dogfight at the movie's climax. ILM, the company's visual effects supervisor, and the film's art department faced not only technical challenges on the film, but also a number of cultural design issues. How do you make a city seem specifically African in terms of its culture while also making it a high-tech utopia of advanced materials and technologies? The answer is a lot of research and taking influence from the colors and architecture of African countries, as well as a whole lot of green screen. Essentially, almost everything from the buildings, the landscape, and even the sky in Wakanda weren't really there when the movie's Wakandan scenes were filmed, and the actors were simply performing in front of giant green screens. Warrior Falls. What we've just said about Wakanda being mostly CGI was true, but one notable exception was Warrior Falls, which was actually built. The set was 120 feet by 75 feet in area and 36 feet tall, with the battle pools being 6 feet above ground level. Construction took about 4 months, and more than 25,000 cubic feet of foam was used to put it together, which was sculpted to match the rocks in South Africa's beautiful Oribi Gorge. The bottom of the pool was padded for the stunt team, but it still looked very much like it was made of rock. The production crew also had to create a surface that was rough enough to not be too slippery on bare feet, but not so rough that it hurt to land on. And the stunt team had to rig all the cliff faces with mountain climbing gear to safely secure all the extras on them. Most impressively, the production team engineered a fully functional flowing waterfall and pool at the ledge of the cliff, with 6 large submersible pumps feeding over 125,000 gallons of temperature-controlled water through the set at a rate of 30,000 gallons per minute. Whew! This was a mammoth project in its own right, before even taking into account the huge amount of effort that went into the rest of the movie.
Strike it.
Anyway.
The Black Panther suit. Ruth E. Carter was the costume designer on Black Panther, and one of her responsibilities included steeping the characters of Wakanda in clothing that spoke to the real Africa, while retaining the mythical quality that the reclusive, technologically advanced nation required. The most iconic costume was, of course, the Black Panther suit worn by T'Challa, which Carter designed by steeping herself in the rich, multifaceted customs and cultures that existed on the African continent, while imagining a nation not only unconquered, but possessing the world's most advanced, environmentally sound technology. She studied the Black Panther suit from Captain America: Civil War and decided that while beautiful, it had less nuance and specificity than many of the superheroes he was fighting alongside. She needed to give it a proper African makeover. Carter found her inspiration for the new suit in Botswana, from the people who live along the Okavango River, where a lot of the designs are triangular in shape. She also took to researching classic superheroes, including quite prominently those from DC, to ensure the suit was ageless and wouldn't look out of date in a few years' time. So Black Panther's costume is basically a mix of traditional African designs and, would you believe it, some DC Comics influence. Combat scenes. The combat and action scenes in Black Panther were amazing, and this entry serves as an insight into various aspects of that. The cast did most of the fight work themselves. Chadwick Boseman's own skills include a comprehensive martial arts background, which really helped him perform the titular role, and the whole cast had to attend a boot camp to prepare them for the physical demands of their roles. The Dora Milaje were cast from a pool of actresses, stuntwomen, and dancers, so each individual member of the elite group could have specialized skills and individuality. The cast and stunt actors practiced with African drums played by musician Jabari Exum, so their movements would have the kind of musical quality found in many African-based martial arts. The high-speed car chase in South Korea was filmed on location in Busan. The cast and crew spent almost 2 weeks in the coastal city to film the epic sequence through iconic sites like Gwangali Beach and the Hyundai district. Director Ryan Coogler wanted that sequence to be seamless, so she had an editor on set cutting footage in real time, which isn't often done during production, but Coogler felt it was the best way to capture everything. Finally, Daniel Kaluuya learned how to ride a horse as practice for simulating riding Wakabi's armored rhino.
Benedict Cumberbatch, coming through the hatch. This is so bad!
Rap battles. It certainly wasn't all work and no play behind the scenes in Black Panther's set, not by a long stretch. In fact, the cast and crew had a lot of fun times while working on the movie, and that fun included a series of rap battles between two of the movie's leading ladies, those being Danai Gurira, who played the head of the Dora Milaje Okoye, and Letitia Wright, who played T'Challa's genius sister Shuri. In an interview with popular magazine Entertainment Weekly, Gurira and Wright let it slip that the two of them would often break out into freestyle lyrical battles during downtime on Black Panther's set. Apparently, at one point, Gurira even managed to trick Wright when she started rapping the lyrics to LL Cool J's 1990 hit Around the Way Girl, something that Wright never lived down. It all points to the whole thing being a great experience for everyone involved in Black Panther, not just because of the unprecedented primarily black cast and a black titular superhero being a positive step forward in Hollywood diversity, and not because of the undeniable commercial and critical success the movies had, but because it definitely sounds like everyone had a great time during its production.
Look good.
Thank you.
You
You
look
too.
good.
Appreciate it.
So you were backstage, you were probably getting all ready and doing push-ups and stuff, but
Push-ups challenge. Although this didn't actually happen behind the scenes on the set of Black Panther, the bet that caused it to happen did, and it does further serve to highlight the general atmosphere during production, so we're happy to include it here. On the Black Panther press tour, which was an absolute sight to behold incidentally, it was revealed that Michael B. Jordan, who played the antagonist Eric Killmonger Stevens, lost a bet to Lupita Nyong'O on the set of the movie. The result was that Nyong'o, who played T'Challa's former lover Nakia, could force him to do one push-up at any given moment of her choosing. Nyong'o has forced Jordan to do them in places like dressing rooms and even in the middle of New York Fashion Week. All things considered, everything points to the Black Panther cast having a lot of camaraderie and fun on the set, which is always nice to know. And you almost get the sense that they were more like a family than they were co-workers. Regardless, everything that went on behind the scenes resulted in a fantastic cinematic experience for those of us who went to watch it, and we can't wait to see the sequel in a few years' time.
I made it rain.
And that's the end of our video. Did you enjoy it? Do you know any other behind-the-scenes secrets about Black Panther? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Screen Rant for more great videos just like this one. Bye for now.